Hey everybody, I wanted to give you a practical lesson or some homework that you could do today that could help get you thinking in the right direction, especially if in your office you have a culture change that you would like to make. So maybe you have resistance to change or drama amongst the team or persistent negativity among a few people or many things that can make the days not feel as awesome as you want them to feel. So there are two things you can do to get established with what it is you think you actually want, because once you have it written down, and I talk about this a lot, you really have to think about it and write it down to make it happen, then you can start taking steps in the right direction. So I've asked you to do this before, but I want you to do this thinking specifically about the culture within your office. So I want you to imagine the best practice year you've ever had. So let's say you're at the very end of the most amazing 12 months the practice has ever had. And you want to look back on that year and write down what that felt like. And this is definitely a use of your imagination. There are no limits here. So I am definitely someone who is always seeking joy and happiness. And so if I were to look back on the best year I ever had, I would be using words like fun, energetic, exciting, inspiring, happy, upbeat, words like that to describe what the practice would have felt like or the culture of the office would have been in that, best year of practice I could ever have imagined. Now, note here that I'm not talking about how much money you made. We're talking very specifically about an enjoyable work environment. And for every person, there will be subtle differences between what their perfect vision. For some people, it will be that it was calm and organized and Zen, right? That's not how I operate. I'm a little more up here when I'm at work, but I want you to use the words that would describe what a phenomenal year in practice would feel like. Maybe think about how excited you would feel to get up and go to work if it felt that way. That's a good starting point. So that should give you a global picture of what you think you want the culture of the office or the feel of the office to be. But then I want you to do something a little bit harder. And I want you to get specific. I really do think that communication is the key to building culture in an office, hands down. So what I now want you to think about is how would the people within your office be interacting with one another in that perfect culture in your practice? Do they come to one another with issues? How do they resolve conflict? Do they feel comfortable coming to you to ask questions or to ask for help? How do they speak to your patients? How do they deal with challenging patients that come into the office? I want you to think about the words used and the interaction of the members of the team. Do they work as a team? Will one person pick up someone else's slack? Is there a division of, these are my duties, I'm not going to do anything that is yours? I want you to think about how all of the individual people within the office would be interacting with one another and with your patients. What kind of words would they be using? What kind of attitude would they have? How do they show up in the morning? What is their mood like throughout the day? How are they leaving the office at the end of the day? How are they feeling? I want you to think about all of these things to the individual pieces and what that would feel like and sound like when you were in the office. Because in order to build a culture, it ultimately comes down to you in the founder of it. So the leader of the practice gets to decide what the culture and the feel of the office is. Once the leader has established that, the team will maintain it and will continue to build it. My practice is fabulous at that. Although I am always conscious of culture, because of the culture I've built, my team enforces the culture at all times. So I don't need to be the one in there drilling it into them at this point in time, because it is the way that we operate. But it starts with you. And if you want it to be a certain way, you have to define it quite specifically. And then once you've got that, you can go step by step towards that goal, or as I like to say, perfect practice piece by perfect practice piece to that goal, because there are skills you will need to learn. It is all learnable. It is all doable. And then you can build that perfect culture you've always been dreaming of. So do the homework. I think it'll help. Bye-bye.